Okay, so it's going to be one of those days. Hang on just a second. All right. Nothing like a real start to a day where you're sitting there and you're going, okay, I need to hit a button. And then, of course, the volume doesn't work. So let's try it again. Here we go. Button works now. Or does it?
Hmm.
Come on, man.
It's it's
Go for it, dude.
it's Friday. Friday. Friday.
Yeah, more like a Monday. More like a Monday at this point. John, hear you there. It is SDH AM. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. And it is the beginning of the weekend. So here's what we've got going on. If I can hit buttons and we actually hear things. Opening kickoff has to do with a wacky match that happened last night that Maddie and Jason happened to be a part of. So we're going to go back and visit that matchup last night. That's going to be opening kickoff. We've got a lot of things that are kind of newsy to get into this morning. Obviously, USMNT, they're getting ready for their first of two friendlies in this window. We'll hear from Alex Zendejas, and we will hear from Flair and Balogun coming up here in during the show. New episode of the Soccer for US POD is coming out later this morning, so you'll hear that. There are questions that Bart and Thomas and the Soccer for US POD crew have about the roster construction. So they go into that. That'll be up later today. So Soccer for US POD later today. We'll hear from Zendejas and Balogun coming up here in the show. We've got to go over what happened last night in the CONMEBOL death match. And we have some familiar faces that are going to be chasing after world championships. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the standings after last night. One more match to go. There is some deciding that has to be done in that 7, 8, 9 position when it comes to CONMEBOL. So we'll get into that with the results from last night, get you set up for the weekend there as well. We do have an update, kind of, when it comes to what happened in Leagues Cup in the tail end. Remember, our buddy Nico Moreno basically eviscerated some folks. Morning, Alex. He eviscerated some folks yesterday. And don't be surprised if that particular segment ends up on the Best of SDH AM that is released on the Off the Woodwork podcast section at 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app tomorrow. So we're still searching for a third segment. We think it's going to be Nico and KCD, and we're trying to figure out what the third segment's going to be. But the evisceration yesterday of Messi and friends, we do have some updated stuff. That the story is advancing a little bit. We do have some words. We have spoken word and written word from some folks, or posted words. I don't know if they were written, but they were posted. So we have posted words and press releases. We'll get into that, and we'll continue to walk that story forward. Big news out of the Premier League yesterday. We'll go into it, where someone who has been, how do we say this, the target of a lot of slings and arrows for one particular club, he's out. And apparently he was removed. And there's a fan base that is basically rejoicing at the moment. And this particular individual did say recently that folks may not have an appreciation for me until I'm gone. Well, we'll see if that appreciation does in fact happen, as Daniel Levy is out at Spurs. And so we'll get into that. Apparently it was not of his own doing. He was removed. And so we will get into the removal of Daniel Levy coming up here in the show as well. So it is college, it is Leagues Cup, it is Premier League, it is chasing after world championships on the CONMEBOL deathmatch. We do have some really cool news out of MLS Next Pro. And yes, Sean, we are going to discuss. So yes, it has finally happened. Daniel Levy is OWT out. So we will get into that. And it's always intriguing to me where you have points of view, and this specifically has to do with the posted word having to do with Leagues Cup. And I'll get you into some of the headlines, and you know how folks are these days when it comes to social media, where they want to make sure that they're seen. And especially when it comes to entities that are of sports talk formats and things like that, and 3 and 4 letter papers and such. I'm gonna go ahead and I will tell you that there is a headline from one of these entities that is playing off of posted word having to do with Messi and friends. And I'll go ahead and I will give you their headline when we get to this particular point of the show. I will give you that headline. And we will then counteract it with the posted word. And once again, it's folks just trying to get noticed and trying to sit there and get clicks. So I found it interesting how one particular outlet decided to phrase the posted word that came out of South Florida. So we'll get into that obviously as the show goes in to the show goes into the show. Spoken very goodly this morning. All right, so opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And by the way, if you wish to start your day off with Kickoff Coffee, you hit this QR code. You hit that QR code, and then that gets you into Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Buy out the store. We recommend it because then when you buy out the store, you can get it at 15% off when you use the code SoccerDownHere15 at checkout. Then they, meaning our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, send 10% toward youth initiatives, youth programs, stuff that they have earmarked as cool. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay. Last night, I don't know how many of you were stuck in crappy weather at points. And here in OSG HQ, here in the Office HD, we didn't really get it. We got it early, but we didn't get it late. And last night in Middle Georgia, they got it late. And just to give you an idea about Jason and his schedule, this week basically he's calling a college match and he might be taking a nap. Then he's calling another college match and he might be taking a nap. Yesterday, Maddie and Jason went down to Mercer for the Kennesaw State Mercer women's match. And so they were sprinting down there to do that. Jason, in turn, after the match was over, I'm sure as soon as he could dodge raindrops, he was probably running so quickly to the car he didn't get wet. He came back up to do the intersection at 92.9, the game in the studio last night. So literally, match is over. He probably sprints to his car, gets to Colony Square, does the intersection. Game was over from the Shield, probably a good 11:30, so I'm sure he made it in time. So if Morning Espresso is a little late, you'll understand why. Because Jason probably didn't get to bed till about 2 or 3, just because of all the running around he did. And it will continue this weekend. So last night, the two of them were on the campus of Mercer University. And from there, it was a matchup that didn't have any scoring in the first half at all. None. That meant that, to me, the weather was actually behaving, and it was. So you have weather that's behaving and you have no goals on the board. Then, with 30 minutes to go, all hell breaks loose in this particular matchup with Mercer and Kennesaw State. So let's break it down for you. Like I said, no goals first half, none whatsoever, 0. Nothing happened. So you end up with things kind of cruising, and you end up then with a goal on the board in the 63rd minute. And so the 63rd minute, you end up with a goal from Morgan Eichelbarner, 10 yards away from the box. And then Annabella Orozco scores in the 69th. We're going to play this in chunks just to kind of give you an idea as to what happened. So nothing happens in the first half at all. Weather's perfect. Weather's fine. You get to under 30 minutes to go. Then you end up with 2 goals in 6 minutes. Here is the first chunk of those 2 goals. Of the 5 goals in the match. Here's your first chunk of goals, courtesy of our friends at ESPN Plus and Mercer University.
Into the 18, Eichelbarner, goal, 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 Mercer Bears, Morgan Eichelbarner gives the Bears the lead here at home.
The run from Morgan Eichelbarner, it is a brilliant run. She takes it, she turns, and she's right on there with Raylan Prince. But the finish there, the clinical finish to find the back of the net all the way at the far post. Eichelbarner has been great in getting in those attacking moments for the
Bachman and Orozco duel. Annabelle wins that duel, cuts inside, right-footed shot, golazo, goal! Goal, goal, Kennesaw State, Annabelle Orozco with a goal of the season candidate. A rocket from Orozco into the upper 90, 1-1.
To give you an idea about the Orozco goal, and if I'm Kennesaw State, the first thing I'm doing when I wake up this morning is I'm clipping that and I'm sending it with the hashtag SC Top 10. Annabelle Orozco gets the ball near side, just outside the edge of the 18. She's probably 20, 21 yards away from goal. Cuts it to the inside onto her right foot, has a window, puts it in the air in that window, and goes upper 90 near post. And the reason that I'm still marveling at this is because, and I'm fairly certain that this has probably been posted to X or 280 or whatever you call it. Orozco is slipping and falling as she's kicking the ball. She's going through her kicking motion, makes contact with the ball, and is falling. Basically, she is slipping and sliding backwards as she makes contact with the ball. Puts enough on it to where it goes and has enough curl on it to where it ends up upper 90 near post as she's slipping down to make it 1-1. So Mercer was thinking, okay, yeah, we got this under control. Eichelbarner scored, and we're on a roll here. Orozco scores slipping as she's kicking, slips down completely, goes near post upper 90. It's one of those where you just sit there and you go, you got to be blanking kidding me. But then they weren't done, meaning Mercer. You end up with basically 2 goals in 70 seconds. 2 goals in 70 seconds to get it from 1-1 to 3-1. Once again, Mercer University and ESPN Plus.
Allie Bryan got there first. Referee lets it play. I think he was going to call the foul, but he didn't need to. Lepley steps in to win it back. Bachman. Good cross from Bachman. Header away by McCullough. Still there for Lepley. Slots it over to the right. Into the 18. Peyton Nutzman with the shot. It gets through. Goal! 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 Mercer! And that's the challenge of a rainy night in Georgia. That shot picked up a little more speed as it came off of the surface and gets past Bernal. Peyton Nutzman with her 4th goal in 2 matches.
Yeah, that ball just slips right past Bernal. But Peyton Nutzman improving her quality on the ball as well. It is a great ball in. She sees the pocket, she takes it, and it's a great shot to put Mercer ahead 2-1, especially with only 8 minutes to go.
Eichelbarner trying to settle it. Owls scramble it away. Bachman steps up to win it. Low cross again. Goal! 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 Bears! Bachman didn't give up on it. Found the handle the second time around, and it's Sydney Farr who puts it home to maybe put this one out of reach.
And this is where I grab whatever writing implement I can and make sure that I sit here and go like this. Not so fast, my friend. I have to grab it, but, maybe I have to take the top off. Not so fast, my friend. So we're at 3-1 with about 6 minutes to go. And you're thinking, okay, if I'm a Mercer fan, it's a downpour at this point. It literally is just nasty. It is sideways, and I don't know. And I give a shout out to the crew who was there shooting the match last night at Mercer and putting all of the equipment together and all that kind of stuff. So you end up with a goal at 82:05. You end up with a goal at 83:15. So Mercer's up 3-1. And you're going, yeah, okay. This one's under control. Maybe we can, head to the car, pop open the umbrella, get there in one piece. Once again, not so fast, my friend. Kennesaw State is pressing and pressing and pressing in the last minute. You end up with this moment. And if you thought that the first goal for Kennesaw was a hashtag SC Top 10, then you had this one coming off a corner. Once again, courtesy of our friends at Mercer University and ESPN Plus.
Sent in by Nesbitt into the 6, headed away at the near post. Put back in by Nesbitt. Golasso by Kennesaw State. It's 3-2, 23 seconds on the clock. Is there time for a miracle here in Macon? Nesbitt with the follow-up. Puts it into the roof. 3-2, but is there time?
There eventually would not be enough time. Obviously, 23 seconds to go, and then if Mercer basically gains possession once and they just kind of send it long or knock it out, then match was over, and that's what did happen. 3-2 final, by the way. So 3-2 final, 2 absolute golazos, and the second golazo to break this one down for you just inside the edge of the 18 near side. So it was a near side corner. And if you are picturing the match in your mind's eye, I feel like I'm doing play-by-play here for a second. Picturing the match in your mind's eye, Kennesaw State is going right to left. Near side corner, and Nesbitt takes it, and it almost went Olympico. So it is defended at the near post, kicks back out. Nesbitt's the first person to get to it, and at a sharp angle. I mean, she was probably 2 feet off of the end line, puts it in far post just inside, once again, upper 90. So 2 really crazy, amazing goals make it 3-2, and that would be your eventual final score, 3-2. Mercer survives with Kennesaw State last night. So if you've got the plus, then you can catch up with Maddie and Jason's call on there. Here's the final rundown of what happened. Mercer, 19 shots. Kennesaw State, 12. 11 of Mercer's shots on goal, which meant 8 saves for Charlie Bernal. And Charlie Bernal had some amazing saves on her own to keep the game goalless in the first 45. And then you're challenged by Mother Nature at this point. And so 8 saves in those conditions for Charlie Bernal. Great effort for her at Kennesaw State. 3 shots on target for Mercer on the night. 3 shots on target for Kennesaw State. 2 of them end up in the back of the net. 1 save for Mercer, 6 corners, 4 for Kennesaw State. 16 fouls called on Kennesaw State in the match compared to 4 for Mercer. So your goals, Eichelbarner from Nutzman, Orozco unassisted, Nutzman unassisted. Then you end up with Farr from Bachman and Nesbitt unassisted. So that's your rundown. 3-2 craziness that happened last night at Mercer that started out in a nice evening on the grass and ended up just in the wet craziness of Middle Georgia, which just happened this time of year. So it was just a crazy nuts bananas Foster match. And so I wanted to bring that to the fore last night. Couple of quick notes. Sydney Farr scores the game-winning goal, first game back since suffering a season-ending injury back on September 1st of last year. Mercer has now won 4 straight against Kennesaw State. Freshman Peyton Nutzman has now scored 4 goals in her last 2 games. Eichelbarner gets her first goal as a Mercer Bear. 5 field players for Mercer played the full 90 minutes. And now next up for Mercer Senior Day, coming up this weekend, Gardner Webb goes to Betts. Kickoff is set for 4 o'clock. So that's your rundown of the craziness that happened last night in Middle Georgia. Mercer improves to 3-2. Kennesaw State drops to 0-4-1. And you're asking kind of out loud, why is Nelson spending this much time discussing a women's soccer match? Because, first off, it was great action. Second of all, it was a rivalry. Third off, when you have matches like this, regardless of level and regardless of location, it just so happened in this case that it was a match that we did have an attachment to for a couple of different reasons. It's schools that we cover, and it's announcers that are here, a part of the family. They get into a match like this that was absolutely insane, and they took you along for a ride for 90 minutes. But it's what happens in matches like this that remind us about rivalries, that remind us about the game, remind us about how the game itself has grown over just the short, if you go in the short term, just how the game has continued to grow to where it is now. Where you have teams in the SoCon going up against teams in Conference USA, and you have these Donnybrooks that go for 5 goals in a downpour. Remember, no goals were scored in this match until 30 minutes to go. You had 5 goals scored in the final 5 goals scored in the final 27 minutes. And you also had 3 goals scored in the last 10. So it's just a reminder that when you look, and sometimes when you don't look, sometimes you get a really cool piece of the sport coming at you from a level that you might not have anticipated. And so it's a reminder to me, and it's a reminder to all of us to appreciate the game on all levels. There's always a great story in there somewhere. For every match we go to, there's got to be a great story. And there is a great story. We just have to kind of look for it a little bit. And so last night at Mercer, you end up with a rivalry game that went nuts, that was a great showing of the sport in Middle Georgia. Great stories that are attached to it too. And so that was why I wanted to have that as opening kickoff this morning, spending 5 minutes worth of highlights, 5 goals on the board, craziness, 3 goals in the last 10 minutes. And it was 2 teams that are based here in the SDH footprint. So it was a fun night, and it reminds us about why we watch and how the sport continues to grow, those kinds of things. So that was why I wanted to bring that to the fore for opening kickoff this morning. And that's opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. For those of you who are hanging out with us this morning on the video side of things, you can hit that QR code. Start your day there. That takes you to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then you go through that QR code, buy out the store. We recommend it. Then what you do is you get to buy out the store, and you do it at 15% off by using the code SoccerDownHere15. And 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it in the youth games, youth initiatives brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. Now, this morning, let me go through the rest of the things that we kind of need to know about promotionally and all that kind of stuff. So once again, since we started our day with Kickoff Coffee, reminder that you can go to our friends at Olive and York, pick up our jersey. Kaiser Permanente on the front. It's navy, floppy collar, very 1980s-y. And it's got Soccer for Good on one side and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring on the other. And that, once again, helps out our Soccer for Good campaign here in 2025. And you can get your personalization for the Navy jersey either in the double blue, the Columbia blue, Carolina blue, whatever you want to call it. And you can get it that, or you can get it in white. Please consult Alex and Abby to figure out which one is right for you. Or you could be like Abby and buy both. Once again, helping out our Soccer for Good campaign here in 25. Grady Baby Co. You can get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gear, the gold embossed, either on the red or the black. It is either the T-shirt or the sweatshirt, and it is SDH Network logo on one cuff, Grady Baby logo on the other cuff if you get the sweatshirt. And from there, net proceeds for that help out our Soccer for Good campaign. It's attached to middle school soccer programs that are involved in Atlanta Public Schools. So really cool stuff from our friends from Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. Also, don't forget, you can go to fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out. You get to see our buddy Nino Torres when he's calling matches on Gold TV. And you get to find out what's going on in and around the planet. You get to add to all the networks that you may not know about and all of the other nations that you may not know about when it comes to calling matches. This weekend, I think, Nino is getting to call one of the countries that does not, well, one of the countries that's gone full bore in matches. They have a full match week this week, even with a CONMEBOL window. So you end up with, I think it's Uruguay this week with Nino. And so you get to watch Gold TV. You get to hear Nino. You get to have a conversation with him during the match. He calls the matches, and he's talking to you. He's calling the match. He's talking to people in Kentucky if it's a Boston River match, all those kinds of things at fntz.co/soccer down here. You get all the BNs, and they have started showing Canal 4, CATV, and Tigo Sports. It is TIC, Nuestro Telecidio for the fans, Liga 1 Max Pro. TVV has been added, and that is a separate package to get more South American soccer and things like that. So it's been fun to see everything else that's been added. If you've got the right package, you can also, they've added Major League Baseball package to Fanatis as well. But it is TIC Nuestro Telecidio for the fans, all the stuff in South America. You get all the BNs, which gets you into the Middle East and North Africa. and get you into all the leagues there. They've added the Polish league this year, I think BN has, in addition to the Turkish league and Liga and all the leagues that are there. So it's more of the Middle East, North Africa, Eastern European leagues and Liga and stuff like that. So you can get that at Fanatis, plus all the South American leagues. And you can catch up with Luis Abram at Sporting Cristal. You can watch Santi Sosa in the LPF with Racing. So there's a bunch of different ties involving Atlanta United as well. So you can watch all that stuff at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And I'm trying to, Chant. I'll go to the Chant app. Hang on just a second. Let me grab here and find out what is going on. So before Michael Parkhurst comes in and joins us, I'm trying to get to our Chant app here just so I can show you what it is. You can be a Fanatico, $10 a year. $10 a year, and I'm trying to do it so it doesn't shine back in your face and blind you. So you can become a Fanatico, and you have a lot of different partners here, a lot of different brew houses that are involved, and you can get discounts on gear. You can go and get discounts on car repair, things like that. Or if you're really interested in going to Costa Rica, you can get a discount at a resort in Costa Rica, literally. El Castillo, San Ramon, Costa Rica. You can go to Chateau Arnal. You get a code, you get a discount. So if you want to go and watch the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza or just watch Costa Rican Premier Soccer, you can do that. So Chant app, and I'll post the the link. It's a link. It's not an email, John. Just the link. You can be all chanted, apt, and fanaticoed in one place, and you can help us out there as well. All right, time to go check in with our buddy Parky and find out what the latest is. There he is, the MIT. There you see. It's like, and literally with the monitor here in front of me, I literally have to squint, and I'm going, Parky, it looks like halftime.
Good morning.
Morning. I'm 700 years old, and I don't have my glasses on, so I have to sit there and go Parky HT, but no, it's the mogul in training. All right, mogul in training. So what's the latest with what's going on with Rhode Island FC? We have to catch us up with what's going on there in USL Championship. I know it's a street fight in the Eastern Conference, trying to stay above the playoff bar. What's going on with your friends at RIFC?
Yeah, I paid them a visit last weekend. Went up there, had to show face and give a little motivational speech. I said, guys, we have to win this game so that I can go on with John and make sure that Dell understands that even though they're having a really good season, can't beat us. That was a good trip, though. It was good to be up there and see the team. It's been a tough season for us. We've underperformed for sure, fighting for the playoff spot, and we're right there. I think tied maybe for 8th, or maybe somebody jumped us last night. I can't remember, but we're right there. But we played Charleston last week. We played Louisville this weekend, so it's back-to-back tough games. But we did it against Charleston. We won 1-0 to Dell's point. We had 32% possession, and honestly, we are a team that the statistics say the less we have the ball, the more points we get. And I don't think we've ever lost a game when we've had like less than 45% possession or something like that. It's really strange. So we'll see. Hopefully Louisville have the ball a lot.
Well, I mean, literally with a group like that, you'll sit there and it's like, you know what, Danny, all you got to do is just, I'm just not feeling it. Danny, it's yours today. You just sit there, just kind of kick it long. Because there's a game that I'm reminded of in a particular part of New Jersey where Atlanta United just didn't want the ball. It's like, you know what? Tell you what, you don't like having the ball. Tell you what, we're going to give it to you anyway. It's just like, you got to do all the work. And so, that makes a lot of sense. It's just like, look, you got to do all the work. You try to tire the guy out, try to force them to be clinical. And then the more that things don't happen, the more that you're looking at them pressing and trying to figure out, okay, we really got to do something. And pressure amplifies. And you're just kind of sitting there going, okay, keep it going. You're doing great. You're doing great not scoring. And we can see things kind of tightening up. So, no, I get where you're coming from in that aspect. Yeah,
it's tough to break down a low block. And, there's a quality difference, obviously, between MLS and USL. So, it's even tougher probably for USL teams to break down a lower block. And yeah, obviously you can play on the counterattack. So we'll see. Yeah, Del, thank you. Please do us a favor and beat Indy this weekend. Have a nice bounce back game at home. But no, it was important. I was up there. We had a lot of decisions to make looking at next year and contracts and players. And we got the deadline, the roster freeze coming up on Monday, I believe. So figuring out if we're doing anything between now and then. And so a lot of good stuff was done. Got to see the team take a W and see some family while I was up there. So it was a great trip. And yeah, hopefully we can make a nice run like we did at the end of last season and head into the playoffs.
Yep, 22 matches played, and right now you're 2 points out. You're below the playoff art, 24 points. So
yeah,
there's some
Indy
work.
passed us on Wednesday night.
Yeah, so there's some work that's got to be done. When you're talking to as a mogul in training and as an ex-player and as a part of an ownership group, I mean, you're coming at it from a couple of different levels. When you're having conversations with those players, I mean, obviously you want your advice to be taken to heart, and you don't want to you don't want to add any pressure to those individuals that you're talking to in a situation like this. It's like, look, just, trust in yourself, do your thing. But I would also imagine that with those players that are under contract to your organization, they're probably, yes, they're taking all that info to heart, but at the same time, they understand the gravity of it, and they're trying not to press, but I think they're pressing at the same time. It's a delicate balance for these guys in this situation right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had that kind of internal battle when we've got a player who was very good for us last year, who's struggling a bit this year. And I was debating about whether to have a conversation with him because I want to come to him as a former player and as a mentor and, give him a little bit of help and guidance and stuff. But it's tough to know if they are able to see me like that, or if they just see me as, co-founder, co-owner, whatever type thing. But I ended up having a conversation with him, and he's a fantastic human being. But yeah, it's difficult probably to, wear the different hats and, sometimes view things one way and view things the other way. But I think in general, we just want to view things like good human beings. Like, for example, we decided to pick up the options on a couple guys early, right? There's no incentive for us to really pick up an option for somebody for next year right now, because, gosh forbid somebody gets injured and that they're going to miss most of next season, that can affect decisions. But we said, you know what? These guys have been good. We want them to be here next year. Let's just do it now and give them the peace of mind. And so, you just try and make decisions being good human beings and knowing how it can be perceived on the other side of things. So, yeah, that's how we try and do things.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a good person. And that rubs off on an individual, and then word gets around because you're in a situation where, hey, you don't have to do it, but you do it. And then you add confidence to the individual on a couple of different fronts. You're adding confidence to that individual. It's like, okay, they trust in me. And if they're having a slow year, what they believe in me that I can do. They're investing in the future of me, and they're investing in the person of me. And so all of that rubs off. And so you never know who that particular player can talk to. You never know who those are friends for that player. So that kind of attitude that is exhibited to them rubs off, and you don't know I'll say knock-on effect, but I mean that in a positive. You don't know how they tell two friends and so on and so on and so on. So there's nothing wrong with being nice and investing in someone's future at the same time.
For sure. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Good things come back to you. So it's how we want to do things. And, if you do most things the right way, right, you get that good karma back to you. And to your point, right, everybody speaks. The soccer world is such a small world. And I see it time and time again. And so, yeah, you hope that by treating players the right way, other players tell players, agents tell other people, right? There's just a lot of goodwill out there by doing things the right way. And it seems so easy. And yet there's so many clubs that don't do it. So
why do you think?
I think part of it is maybe they have people that were never in the player's shoes.
Mhm.
They don't understand, and they just view it as commodities, basically. There's a business to run, and there's games to win, and butts to put in seats, and this is just a data point, and the data point can move on if we want them to, because we control things. And so, I think some of that is in there, and they lose the human aspect of it and the benefit that we just spoke about of what can transpire if you do things the right way.
Do you see the same in mentoring? I mean, I know that you and Greg and your new charge, who is part of the Purple women's team down in Central Florida, do you see that in mentoring where mentors may see mentees as data points, or is there a genuine effort across the board to try in advance to make things better for those individuals that they touched? Do you see any mentors working with mentees as data points?
Not firsthand.
Good,
I
because
don't think.
I wanted to ask that question, and I was hoping the answer was going to go a certain way, but go ahead.
Yeah, not that I've ever seen, and I don't know exactly how all the companies are run, and there's some big ones out there. So you hope not, for sure, but no, for us it's about relationships, definitely.
Has the word of mouth about how you and Greg handle things at BGM, has that rubbed off and given you mentees that you would not have anticipated getting otherwise?
Absolutely, absolutely. Our best. I mean, we don't do much marketing. So our best marketing is our current client base, and them telling a teammate or a parent, and words spreading, and new clients coming in. So yeah, absolutely. So again, just being a good human. And back to your earlier question of why don't some teams do it?
Mhm.
Because they don't have to,
Hmm.
because they've got the power. MLS has always had power, and they haven't had to. It was such a classic example of like the American veteran, especially back in the day when I was a young player getting into the league, and guys like Steve Ralston, Jay Heaps, Matt Reese, guys towards the end of their careers, sort of, MLS would just lowball them, knowing, okay, this guy's got a family. He's not making a lot of money. He's probably not going to want to move to make just a little bit more money. So, we can get away with things. And that's the way it's been for a long time. Like, okay, let's do the bare minimum because that's what we have to do, versus, hey, what's right?
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Things have changed, right? Free agency has helped, and now there's a regard for the American player, and even veterans, and what they can bring to a team and things. So the league's in a much different place right now. Players have more power, and so yeah, a lot of that has gone away, but some clubs have learned a little slower than others.
There are a couple of modern day news events that have happened in the sport that I want to kind of go over with you. I'm going to talk about them like later in the show because we've had some advancement in them. And I want to ask it within the framework of mentoring and, looking at examples and, good examples, bad examples of athletes and things like that. Have you had any mentoring sessions since the end of Leagues Cup? So basically this week up until now.
Yeah, I have.
And the reason that I ask is, and this is probably going to be something of a perpetual question, is have there been any conversations about what happened at the end of the match and what happened after the whistle blew?
Yeah, I put something out on social media about it, and about being able to control our emotions and why it's so important, and respect, and being a good human being, and how those things are important. And he's probably going to get away with it, but if you as a younger player do something like that, it could ruin your career, and it could vanish quickly. And so I put something on social media about it, and Yeah. I don't know how many people watch American football, but did you see it last night, John?
Yeah, I saw Jalen Carter basically, bust out a loogie on Dak first play before the first snap even happens.
Unbelievable.
And then Jalen is walking off the field with a smirk on his face that apparently he doesn't at the moment didn't quite understand the repercussion of what was going on, because there will be knock-on effects. And apparently there is now word out that Dak may have started it.
I listened to the interview and it sounded like Dak spit on the ground or something, and then Jalen took it as if he was getting spit at, so he spit. But just in general, like being able to, even if you felt that someone spit towards you, right? Being able to control yourself in this moment and realize this game and being a part of the team is so much bigger than me feeling disrespected in this little moment right now, right? I can get my revenge later in the game within the rules.
Get a receipt later, yeah.
And same thing with Suarez. I mean, he obviously hasn't learned. It's not the first time. And, he can apologize all he wants, but which is great. I'm glad that he did. But yeah, I really, really hope, but I have zero expectations that MLS will come down on him. And that's a shame, because, so many people watch him and Miami, and, and you see Messi during the whole thing, right? What's he doing?
Off to the side.
Off to the side. Couldn't care less about what's going on over there. Knows that it's childish, doesn't want a part of it, right? And you wonder why some people, are the best. And Suarez is so good, and he's unbelievably talented and has been for a really long time. But yeah, it's crazy that you can lose your mind in situations like that and not be able to control yourself. And it's such a skill, and it's an important skill for all realms of life.
When you have conversations with mentees, obviously not to the extent of a Luis Suarez moment like we had in Seattle, but do you watch tape on mentees? Do parents sit there and send you like videos like, okay, I have a concern. I need to bring my athlete kind of back to square when it comes to being a good person out there and being out there and competing and not being a honk about it. I'm for lack of a better term. I mean, do you have conversations where you kind of have to bring mentees back to reality a little bit?
Sometimes, not too often, honestly. There's not too many mentees that send us video for us to look at. Some do. And we have had some conversations about attitudes out on field and how to control emotions. And some players have been honest about, hey, I can't control myself, right? I'll just yell at a ref. And, we try and talk about different ways to do it and how to handle it and ways to work on it, but not too often. But it is something that I see constantly, John, even at the MLS level. For example, there's different levels to it, right? Suarez is obviously a huge high level, right? But I was even watching highlights from Portland versus Cincinnati. It was a Vander's game back at Portland, and there's a turnover by a defensive midfielder for Portland. He's trying to play the striker. Center back Miazga steps in front of the pass, and the center midfielder stands there like, hey, striker, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Miazga passes the ball to Evander, who's standing right next to the guy who's going like this. Evander kind of turns, doesn't even touch the ball. First touch, bang, side netting, goal. And it's like reactions, right? You just so important. They're so important. And reactions on the field, off the field, controlling our ability to react and get on with things. It's just so important. And I see it all the time at the highest level. So I know for sure it's happening at the lower levels for sure.
Because you have, athletes at the lower levels who look at the athletes at the higher level, and they see that in a match. And I guess from there, it is viewed as an accepted behavior. If they're doing it, then I should be able to do it. That kind of a thing. And
Totally.
when you're when you have that kind of behavior, what do you tell those mentees who might look at this and this, and it's like, instead of this, when they're doing all of the negative stuff, how do you try to turn those negatives around, or at least kind of shake them on the lapels a little bit and go, that's not how you're going to get things done. That's not how you're going to be productive here.
Yeah. We try and tell them to, hey, put yourself in the other person's shoes, right? Say you're the person who shot the ball instead of crossed it, or tried to cross it and you didn't make a good cross, and your striker turns around and is like giving you one of these or yelling at you. How's that going to make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to help you play better? Is that going to help the team play better? No. And I get the frustration from that Portland player. Right? The striker was lazy and the center back just, right? But have a go at him later, right? There's a time and a place to sort things out, and the game doesn't stop for you and your emotions. And so, yeah, that's one way we kind of talk about things. But also I say, hey, go watch a women's game. Go watch an NWSL game. Their reactions are so much better than the men. So much better. I've rarely see a player in the NWSL MF a teammate or throw their hands up, have bad body language towards a teammate.
Yeah.
Rarely. The difference is unbelievable.
And now that I'm processing that in my head, yeah, I mean, I legitimately cannot think, and I mean, I'm even thinking quickly at the international level where you're chasing after a world trophy, and proper hydration. Yes, we like that, especially on a Friday. And but yeah, I can't think of any level where I have seen, I mean, short of people getting mad at how, say, South American clubs might time waste and then they get you frustrated and that kind of a thing. But I can't think of, say, offensively in transition or any kind of moment like that where it's rare where if you are doing something like that where you're MFing a teammate, you're doing this, you're directing traffic to no one in particular. I can't think of a moment short of coming from frustration where you're doing something like that.
Yeah. And so it's just a good example of you can still play at the highest level without the antics, without the bad body language, and still have good results and still play at the top level.
Do you show women's soccer to male mentees?
Well, yes, I'll show, and it doesn't matter. Soccer is soccer. So I'll show NWSL to men. I'll show MLS to women. When we do our big group things, it's NWSL and MLS clips. Doesn't matter who's in attendance. So yeah, we can learn from anything.
Yeah, I was just because if it made sense to watch a women's match, I didn't know if part of the individual study was to sit there and say, okay, here's what I've seen from you, take a look at this and see how it's managed this way. And so that was, that's kind of why I was asking that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's just, you hope that it's not a prevailing issue where you have the younger athletes looking at older athletes and thinking it's an accepted behavior. And that to me is one of the things that it's like, really? And it comes across sometimes like you want to go down that path. You really like this person for what they're doing on the field. And it's just, I'm hoping it's not something that is increasing in number that you want to draw folks back in. It's like, look, focus on what got you here. Don't focus on all the histrionics and everything else that you see. Focus on being the great athlete and the great person. This individual is so far over at the end of the bell curve that they're not worth your time in certain aspects of it. I'm hoping that it's an issue that, that you sit there and it's just like, put them off to the side. It is a bad example. It's an example of how to be bad about things, but it drove me crazy how what we saw in Seattle. I was hoping it's not an accepted behavior across the board. And I was wondering about mentees when it came to doing stuff like this.
Yeah. And I cannot believe it's been almost a week and we've yet to hear from MLS.
And or the League's Cup Disciplinary Committee.
Yeah, I mean, League's Cup is one thing. I get it. who knows, even Suarez plays next year.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's
personally
like,
think MLS needs to come in with their own suspension
Mhm.
effective immediately
and
for X amount of games.
yeah, and I mean, we've seen it before with Petke, with his outburst, with Clint Dempsey and his outburst where he ripped up the ref's notebook. Yeah, exactly. So, and Guatemoc Blanco in Open Cup when he went berserk. So if Guatemoc Blanco wants to come back, if Dempsey wants to come back and play in an Open Cup scenario, they still have to sit out a suspension. It would not surprise me if that was like it for Luis Suarez, because he's in the last year of his deal. All the big four are in their last years of their deals. There's no options to be picked up, and then they got to figure it out. So Suarez is just like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm out. So I'm just going to go ahead and, not really care. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Fire me? One of those kind of things.
Yeah. Wait till his last MLS game. That doesn't end well.
Yeah. No, I mean, that would be, whether it's a playoff game or what have you, when those situations, it's just, I'm anticipating, and this is the negative person in me. I'm thinking that this is it for Luis Suarez, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my thing. And it's like, come after me and chase me and do whatever. Send me the envelope and I'm going to file a change of address kit and you're not going to know where I am. And so it's not going to matter.
Yeah. I just really hope that MLS understands that younger people are watching. Right? The younger generation is watching.
Mm-hmm.
And so if this goes unpunished, unpunished by me, I'm talking about MLS. I don't care about Leagues Cup.
Right.
Leagues Cups could suspend him for a year, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
What's MLS doing?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I really hope that MLS does something because I think it's a lesson that kids need to learn. And
I mean, Sergi Busquets does a short right to Obed Vargas.
He should be suspended as well.
And you had Maxi Falcone with it wasn't quite a rear naked choke, but it was a rear choke in the pile. And we were walking through the incident earlier this week, and we came up with like 6 players for Miami and 2 for Seattle that are probably going to get envelopes that should get envelopes from the league office. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because it was out of control, and you had dudes with bibs who were taking swings and like choking folks, and that's just no. I don't know how else to say it, but just no. That's not what you want to do. That's not the kind of image that you want to have when you have a team of superstars who are supposed to act a certain way, and now you got me on my soapbox, acting a certain way, and then acting like that. When you have this expectation of, okay, look, you're a superstar, do your thing. Messi's off to the side. Busquets is doing short rights. And Luis Suarez is stomping on a security guy so he doesn't move, so he can wind up and go magic loogie on the guy. I mean, it's just like, what? How would you process that as an idea to do? That's the other thing to me. I mean, legitimately, I'm going to step on this guy's foot so he can't move, and then I'm gonna hock at him. I mean, where does that even come from? I'm stunned. I'm fired up. I mean, you got me all fired up again, dude.
Yep. Yeah, but to Abby's point, I mean, if a reserve player for Seattle or even Miami spit on a high-profile player, done for the season.
Dunzo, absolutely. Okay, I've borrowed you long enough. What's the latest with Beyond Gold?
What's the latest and greatest? We are sorting out our Thanksgiving camp and what we're doing there. Wow. We are hopefully later today having further conversations about a partnership with our first club team. So that would be awesome.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
In the Atlanta region. So that would be tremendous.
Yes, it was.
So yeah, big picture stuff. So it's going well.
Well, may the picture continue to get bigger, sir. Thank you for hanging out with us. Are you going to go out and play golf, or are you working out?
I wish I could. I've got meetings from now until 1, and then working the grill tonight for Friday night football to help out the softball team.
Oh, okay. All right. So, well, let us know about the grill, and next time we catch up, we'll find out about Rhode Island. We'll find out about the grill. Find out about mentoring, and hopefully, maybe if you want to break some news, you could do that with this club thing that you're working on. Just thinking.
Sounds good.
As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for hanging out with us and answering all of my questions and wandering down the road of mentors, mentees, and all the things. Be safe, my friend. Be well, and we'll catch up with you soon.
You as well. Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, that's Parky. And boy, does he put up with my stuff. That's all. It's always good to kind of, have Michael Parkhurst's brain to bounce things off of. He and Greg Garza both, because of modern day events in Major League Soccer, because of what happens in Leagues Cup, because of what happens, to get that prism and to get that viewpoint of what's going on in soccer today with what Michael and Greg and their new mentor are walking through with Beyond Goals, to kind of get the feedback on events going on and go through the idea of, okay, this is happening. Have you had talks about that with mentees? What are the conversations like? All that kind of stuff. So it's great to catch up with Parky and Greg when their worlds kind of slow down to the point to where they can catch up with us and we can find out what's going on in their world at Beyond Goals Mentoring, at BG Mentoring on the Twitters, at beyondgoalsmentoring.com. And okay, so they're going to have a relationship with a club. They're going to be tied to their first club. And we get to find out about that in short order. Okay. I wanted to what we were talking about with Parky. We did have, how do we phrase? We did have word come from folks having to do with what happened down in, well, it was in Seattle, having to do with the team in Fort Lauderdale. So on Instagram, you had Luis Suarez come out with a statement. And to the, and in hour number one, I had mentioned where it's interesting. Phraseology and headlines these days is very, very interesting. And I will quote the headline to this particular article. And then we'll go into what Luis Suarez posted. And because, like I said, it's a posting, which meant that there was thought that went into this and input from other sources. We would imagine, how do I write this? How do we phrase this? How do we phrase this in a corporate sense? So the team came out with something. Luis Suarez came out with something. Here's the headline from an entity overseas. Quote, "I made a mistake. Luis Suarez issues groveling apology after spitting on opposition staff member." That was the headline. And so that was the headline that was attached to the Suarez statement that he posted on Insta. So knowing that headline, being what that headline is, here is what he said. Issued a written apology. It was more like a posted apology, but sure. Okay, fine. 38-year-old's behavior has been condemned since, and now he admits to making a mistake. That's the copy. That's from our friends at Talk Sport, by the way. Groveling apology, the word they use. So here's the apology from Luis Suarez. "First of all, I want to congratulate the Seattle Sounders for their Leagues Cup victory. But more importantly, I want to apologize for my behavior at the end of the game. It was a moment full of tension and frustration when things took place at the end of the game that shouldn't have occurred, but that doesn't justify my reaction. I made a mistake, and I'm sincerely sorry. That's not the image that I want to portray in front of my family who suffer for my errors, and Inter Miami doesn't deserve to be affected by this either. I feel bad for what happened, and I did not want to miss this opportunity to recognize it and ask everyone for forgiveness who felt poorly about what I did. We know there's still a lot of season to play for, and we're going to work together in order to accomplish the goals that this club and its fans deserve. A hug to all." So that's what he posted to his IG-gram or Insta account, whichever one you reference. So remember, Hector Herrera got a 3-match ban November last year for spitting in the direction of a referee while he was with Houston Dynamo. Then that was it. He was done. One of the reasons that Pat Onstad was like, nope, not re-signing him at the time. Nope, not signing him back. Not coming back. We're done. So Suarez obviously continued to, he's looking at his future, and then Messi and friends condemned the actions on the field. So today being Friday, yesterday being Thursday, match happening Sunday night. So 14 hours ago, here's what Inter Miami CF said on their social media, on the 280-character app. Inter Miami condemns the altercations that took place following the conclusion of the Leagues Cup final. These actions do not reflect the values of our sport, and we remain committed to upholding the highest standards of sportsmanship both on and off the pitch. We're working closely with Leagues Cup and MLS officials to ensure this situation is addressed appropriately. We thank our fans and community for their continued support. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences. And it was under 280 characters, I guess, unless they have the yellow check mark. They may be verified or something and can go longer, but 4 sentences about the incident Sunday. So 4 sentences. And that's what they've posted. Once again, still no word from Leagues Cup and the disciplinary committee. No word from Major League Soccer. I know that there are a lot of folks that would sit there and say, okay, well, this happened Thursday. Why didn't it happen sooner? I would imagine that you probably have to get all of your proverbial ducks in a row. Okay, unified statement. Luis, you're going to say this. Club will say this. And then we'll come out with a coordinated posting. A lot of folks are looking at the Thursday date of said postings and wondering why it wasn't sooner. Once again, still no word from Disco at Leagues Cup and no word from anything off the top involving Major League Soccer. And that was why I wanted to bring that up with Cap about, okay, it would have to be something separate. And Cap was looking for something separate. So that's what you're looking at with Messi and friends for the stretch run. Now, if we were to look at the roster, the 6 individuals that we were discussing that were attached to the incident on the field. Sergio Busquets, once again out of contract at the end of this year. No word yet on an extension. It has been discussed at certain points. Then you've got, let's see, I'm trying to look at folks whose contracts are ending at this season. Luis Suarez, my guess is that this is it for Luis Suarez. At 38, I think that, he has shown that I thought his knee was basically gravy, but apparently he's doing really well. He's doing it better than I thought he was going to. But this is the last year of a contract with Luis Suarez at a TAM level. You're not going to bring him back as a DP because of Alba Busquets and Lionel Messi. So what do you do from here? Like I said, I think Busquets probably gets some kind of suspension. Whether it comes from Major League Soccer, I don't know. Luis Suarez probably gets the hammer dropped on him by Leagues Cup Disco. Does he get a suspension from MLS? Other 25s that were involved in the fight, Cello Weigand, who's on loan. Then you have, let's see, I think that's it. Everybody else is contracts that are further down the line. So really the only affected players in this that would have any kind of a carryover into 26 would be full-blown Busquets, Suarez, Cello Weigand. Cello Weigand is on loan. So looking at those numbers, if there's anything substantive, like I said, I think that Busquets might get a couple of games. Anybody who is involved in that scrum, the 6 players that we were talking about, the 8, if you include both teams, you're probably getting a couple of games added. And once again, if you go more than 3, then it has to be taken into account and appeal for the MLSPA. You're probably going to get a lot of 2s. Falcone, Aviles, Weigand, they're going to be all 2s. Busquets might be a 3 or a 4 for literally being shown trying to hit Obed Vargas with a straight right. And then Jay Bell and Jackson Reagan probably get 2s. And so you're looking at all of the players that were in that scrum in addition to Luis Suarez. So 5 in the scrum for Messi and friends, 2 for Seattle. You're probably all looking at 2s, except for Busquets, who might get more. I think Suarez, he's done. So whatever is thrown at him, it will deflect, considering my guess is he retires and goes back to South America to go work on the club that he and Lionel Messi put together. This is my extrapolation of what I think may go down. We will see. And I'm thinking that the international break, that the international window is probably buying the league some time. So because they want to kind of think this through, figure out what they want to do, you're probably having a lot of conversations about it. Then you want to look and see, okay, here's what's going on. Maybe you do something later today, going into the weekend, so that way you end up with a week for the teams to prepare. You figure the 8 individuals are going to get something from Leagues Cup Disco. But then do you get 2s across the board? And think about it. The matchup next week for Messi and friends. Let's take a peek at the schedule real quick. Next week, you're looking at a matchup with Charlotte. September 13th at the bank, you're looking at a matchup with Charlotte. And so if you don't have all of those players, then you're going to be calling some folks up from the 2s and MLS Next Pro to fill out your roster. If you are Messi and friends, if there is anything added, a game or 2, remember in the standings in the Eastern Conference, 3 or 4 matches in hand for Messi and friends. Right now, they're 6th in the table, a point behind Orlando, but they've only played 25 matches. So you're 11 points behind Philly. You've got to win out, basically, to get to the number 1 seed. But the question is, do you want to get that far in the grand scheme of things because of resting players and suspensions and such? So if those 5 get 2s, in addition to Leagues Cup, then you're without a substantial number of players for a matchup against Charlotte to start with. And you only have 6 points to make up, and you've got a superior goal difference with Cincinnati. Cincinnati has 3 more wins than you do. But let's say you win 3 of the 4. You're at 55, you're in second place. You could do like Greg Popovich used to do with the Spurs, load management, whatever. What was it yesterday, Derek? It was, what was it, having to do with the muscle concerns or whatever it was that they could have used with Jordi Alba and Messi going to Austin? I will be intrigued to see if anything happens over the top and to what extent it is. Because of all of these matches in hand that Messi and friends have, they could take the heat on one. Yeah, David, thank you. Yes. Making me laugh. David says, I don't know if you heard what happened last year. I hear Miami's not so keen on having the 1. Yeah, absolutely true. Muscle discomfort. Thank you, Derek. So, with you could take a match and kind of just do what the Spurs used to do. Just sit everybody. Turn it into a glorified scrimmage. Play a kickabout for 90 minutes. Do like a 1-8-1. Something like that. So if MLS goes over the top, you're sitting your stars. You're playing a lot of your younger players for that first match back. And it just so happens it might be in Charlotte next weekend. So I would anticipate something either later today, since it's the end of the week and it gives you a week to prepare, or first part of next week, because folks are still in their windows for international play. And so you have teams practicing to get ready for the weekend anyway without those that are on international call-up. So you're trying to figure out how to dance around all that stuff. So that's what I would anticipate if Major League Soccer is going to do anything, it would probably come either late in the afternoon Friday or over the weekend, maybe Monday morning. So teams can Seattle and Messi and friends can adjust their rosters and their approaches for the matchups next weekend. For Seattle, by the way, is 2 matches in hand with San Diego and Minnesota. So if Seattle wins, they're 3 points ahead of LAFC. LAFC has a match in hand on them. So LAFC, 41 points, 26 matches played, match in hand on Seattle. Seattle has 44. Vancouver has 49. Seattle wants to be top 4. So they're looking at the 2 matches in hand that they have with San Diego and Minnesota, trying to distance themselves from LAFC and Portland and get closer to San Diego, Minnesota to be in the top 4 with everything that they've had to navigate this year. All the Reds, all the injuries, all the things. So that's what you're looking at next Saturday. You're looking at matchups involving Charlotte and Messi and friends and Seattle and LAG. So keep an eye on those 2 matchups. That's what those 2 teams are facing next week. Seattle, I'm less concerned than I would be if it was Messi and friends, considering just the group that was involved with Messi and friends. Falcone, if he gets anything over the top, it hurts the back line. Aviles, Weigand, Busquets, you're decimating the midfield. If they get a 1, if it gets an added game by Major League Soccer plus whatever Leagues Cup Disco puts together. So you'd be decimating your midfield and starting Benjamin Kromaski, probably coming back from international duty. You're probably starting him. But you're decimating your midfield as we know it, and you lose Maxi Falcone at the back. And so you have to navigating the midfield would be your issue. And then obviously not having Luis Suarez in your attack. So I would anticipate that if there is an added game suspension by Major League Soccer going up against this matchup with Charlotte, you're going to see a lot of kids, and you're going to see a defensive posture from Javier Mascherano going to Charlotte. I'll tell you right now, take the under, if that is in fact the case. So so keep an eye. Now, we always say keep an eye on things. Morning 4 card. Oh, that's true, David. No, that's right. You're right. Kromaski got loaned out. That's right. He was Parma. I don't know what the date was. Sorry, I forgot about that. Yes, true. So, so you've decimated your midfield. I don't know what your offense looks like. I don't think it's deferred. Oh, hang on. Let me go back and check my mail from Inter Miami at the point of the loan. So let me double check and see which email it got sent to, and then I can come up with a definitive answer. So I don't know. And so David might have corrected me on something, and we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. Okay, so loaning Kromaski to Parma. Loan. So it sounds immediate. Okay, so disregard everything I said about Benjamin Kromaski, and it wasn't deferred. So, yeah, he goes straight to Parma. So, yeah. John's an idiot. What else is new? All right. not deferred. So he goes straight to Parma. Your midfield is decimated. If every one of those individuals gets a 1-game suspension, Busquets, Weigand, Aviles at the back. So Falcone and Aviles at the back, Weigand, Busquets in the middle. You've loaned Kremoski out. You won't have Luis Suarez. If there is a 1-game suspension for anybody Messi and friends that was attached to, if all those 5 plus Suarez get an extra game for Major League Soccer and it's the matchup against Charlotte, you're going to see a lot of the kids. It'll be a kickabout with a lot of the kids in Charlotte. Guaranteed. All right. Let's see. What else was on my plate this morning? Oh, we got to go over CONMEBOL and what happened there last night in the CONMEBOL death match. And it was good news for Miguel Almiron. Paraguay goes to the World Cup. Good on them. Last night, Brazil beat Chile 3-0. And you've got stuff going on this morning in African qualifiers. Guinea leading, Gambia leading, Malawi leading, Congo leading South Sudan. And I would imagine our friend that we have it with South Sudan now. So who is it that's with the South Sudan? Geez, John, your brain is not here today. South Sudanese national team. Oh, it's driving me crazy. I can't think of who it is. South Sudan National League's football team. So results and fixtures. Boy, is this driving me nuts. Machop Chol. That's who it was. That's who I was trying to think. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, 4Card. Yeah, so Pop Chol is on the roster currently. Machop does not appear to be on it. This was for the 25th call-up. So Pop Chol called up. Recent call-ups, Peter Chol. And where's Machop? Okay, so Machop is listed as a forward. And his last call-up was this time last year. So Machop is not a part of the current roster for South Sudan. So South Sudan currently playing, and it is a deficit that they have 4-0 to the Congo. DR Congo, it was a minus 179 going in. You got a lot more in African qualifying in the noon hour. 2:45, you have a lot going on in European qualifying and activity. And then 3 o'clock as well. Third stage qualification in CONCACAF, it is at 6 and 8 and 10. And Nicaragua, Costa Rica is at 10 o'clock tonight. Then you have more European qualifying going on tomorrow, including our friends at San Marino who are hosting Bosnia and Herzegovina. Bosnia and Herzegovina minus 2,500. More in Europe on Sunday as well. And Sudan and Senegal at 3. Thank you, 4Card. All right, so last night, results. Like I said, Brazil late night went up against Chile and took out the whooping stick. Brazil beat Chile 3-0. They were favored. Argentina shut out Venezuela at a minus 417, 3-0. Colombia, 3 was the number. Colombia beat Bolivia at a minus 909, 3-0. Paraguay and Ecuador had a plus 167 draw. Because of that, Paraguay advances to the world competition in 26. Uruguay knocked out Peru 3-0 at a minus 227. So, looking at the standings in CONMEBOL after the craziness of last night, would not surprise me if Argentina rotated for their matchup coming up against Ecuador. Ecuador needs the points. They have qualified. So right now, Argentina at 38 points. They're 10 points clear. They've won the competition, if you're into that kind of thing. Then you have 5 teams separated by 3 points. They're all in. It's just the where when it comes to the qualifying order. Brazil's at 28. Uruguay's at 27. Ecuador in. You know the top 6 now with 1 match to go. Now the fun part. Is it going to be Venezuela or Bolivia in the qualifier? That's the big question going into the last match day. You know the 6. You don't know the order. 7 and 8 are fighting for the play-in spot. And it's probably against Oceania. Peru out at 12 points. 2, 6, and 9. And then it is Chile at 10 points, and they were out. They've lost 4 or 5. Venezuela, 18 points. They take on Colombia 5 days' time. Once again, Colombia, for the sake of order, trying to go for a win. Venezuela just has to do better than Bolivia. Bolivia, by the way, is 12 goals off in goal difference. So with 1 point difference, even if Venezuela loses at 18 points and Bolivia gets a point with a draw, superior, vastly superior goal difference. And Bolivia plays Brazil, by the way, on the 10th. Vastly superior goal difference. Venezuela has positioned themselves to be the 7, to be the play-in, to go up against the Oceania team, I think, to figure out what it's going to be for them coming up on the last match day in 5 days' time. So if today is Friday, then it's on Wednesday. And then everybody races back to be in Major League Soccer. They get into camp Thursday, maybe it's Friday, and then you don't start them on the weekend. So keep an eye on your fantasy teams when it comes to everybody coming back from CONMEBOL. Brazil at 28, Uruguay at 27, Ecuador at 26, Colombia 25, 4 better in goal difference than Paraguay. They're all in. Just don't know the order. Venezuela and Bolivia chasing after the last spot. So that's the rundown for CONMEBOL after match day 17. Keep an eye on all of that. Obviously, North and Central America, they got some work to do in CONCACAF in the 3rd stage. You're looking right now, teams gradually getting into playing. Then you have the 3 groups trying to figure out how to work their way forward. El Salvador, Suriname, Panama, Guatemala in Group A. Group B, Jamaica, TNT, Bermuda, Curacao in Group B. Group C, Honduras, Costa Rica, Haiti, and Nicaragua. The ranking of the second-place teams right now, it is Suriname and Trinidad and Tobago. They would advance right now, but matches haven't been played. But right now, you're looking at Trinidad and Tobago over Costa Rica. So that's how it's looking with the CONCACAF version of things. And so that's what you're staring at with that. We did mention, by the way, there are matches this weekend in Major League Soccer. There are 4 technically. There are 4, and then a 5th. DC United's playing Club America at Audi Field tomorrow at 6:30 in a friendly. Hang on, let me hydrate for a second. Houston and LAG. We have 3 matches at 8:30 tomorrow night. Houston and LAG at Hell in a Shell. That's on MLS Season Pass. Chicago, New England, which is intriguing in the Eastern Conference, from SeatGeek because it's football season. And then All Caps hosting Dallas at Energizer Park. Sunday Night Soccer, Kansas City and Austin. Kansas City has always opted, I think, to play through international breaks. Abby, have a great weekend. We'll talk about the USMNT in a bit. Watch parties at 5. And remember, if you are a Fanatico, you get discounts at Fido Midtown. Reminding you, if you want to become a Fanatico, group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. Did I do it right? I think it did. You want to be a Fanatico? Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. And you end up getting discounts at a lot of cool places, doing a lot of cool things, helping us out for our Soccer for Good campaign here in 2025 and beyond. So group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. Okay. 4 matches, Major League Soccer, plus the friendly with DC United. I'm wondering if DC United will score any goals. Houston and LAG, Chicago, New England, St. Louis, Dallas, Kansas City, and Austin. Check the juice boxes on these, and then we'll check the standings on these as we roll through. And Bart Keeler coming in because we do have to talk about USMNT and promote episode 125. We will hear from Zendejas and Balogun coming up here in a sec. But let me run your juice boxes really quickly here in Major League Soccer. And the questions therein. Chicago Fire favored at a -123, draws a +301, Revs are a +284 on the road. Dynamo -122, hosting LAG at a +292, draws a +284. All Caps favored at home at a -102, draws a +291. FC Dallas a +231. Sunday Night Soccer, Sporting actually favored at home at a +143. Austin a +162, draws a +268. Now, standings quickly. before we bring in Bart Keeler to discuss the USMNT and what they are facing in this round of this round of friendly. And once again, the new episode of the Soccer for US POD will be out later this morning, and they're not happy with some of the roster selections. We'll get into that, but without blowing the entire episode up. So you want to listen to it in addition to our conversation. So Chicago, New England right now, they're the 10 and the 11. New England's 8 points back. They need to win. Chicago's a match in hand at 39 points. They need the points to get into the 9 spot and go over Red Bulls temporarily. In the West, you're looking at Austin right now at 38 points. They're in the 7 spot. They're avoiding the wild card play-in by 2 points. And you've got Houston right now at 32. They need to win to try and chase after San Jose. And San Jose has a far superior goal difference. They are 11 goals better than Houston is. Dallas at 30 points. They're chasing right now. They're in part of that 10, 11, 12 group. Kansas City still chasing kind of at 27 points. They are chasing in that group kind of at 13. St. Louis is at 21 points at 5, 17, and 6. Galaxy qualifying for the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza 15th, 19 points for 16 and 7. Watch your fantasy teams accordingly. Now, let's bring in Bart Keeler to discuss stuff about the USMNT. And so who are we wearing today on a Friday?
Oh, Nina West, a.k.a. Big Mama, a.k.a. Edna Turdblad from Hairspray. And, John, we are pairing it with the Good Morning Baltimore mug.
There you go. There it is.
You can't stop the beat, John.
No, you cannot stop the beat. Okay. There are matches involving folks that are attached to the Stars and Stripes. Before we get into your thoughts on this particular week, we have sound from Zendejas and Balogun going into this weekend. And it is, let's see. Ooh, okay. So we got, okay, cool. Devin Daly from Belize is going to be joining us in about 13 minutes. Okay, so that's cool.
Fantastic.
All right, so hang on. So let me do a little business here. So we can play the Balogun and Zendejas sound and get ready for that. So here are the sounds, courtesy of U.S. Soccer and Veritone, as they are discussing the weekend and what it means to them.
Thanks, Michael. My question is also for you, Balo. Obviously, you missed a lot of time last season. Just curious where you are, with your health. Are you, how close to being back at your best do you feel that you are? And first impressions of Maurizio and his staff.
Yeah, it's been a while, as you said, but definitely I feel good. Injuries are behind me, and yeah, it was a tough period, but I think every athlete goes through that at some stage. And yeah, first impressions of Maurizio and his staff have been really good from me. They've embraced me, made me feel welcome, and the feedback I've got from the other players and staff, they're great people, and everyone's delighted to have them here. So it's all good.
Next will be Jonathan Tannenwell from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, gentlemen. A question perhaps each of you could answer. What's it been like watching this team and waiting to return to it, and now you're finally back here? What have you seen of the games they've played, and what do you hope to contribute?
First?
You can go.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's like these opportunities we've been waiting for. Obviously, I feel like it all depends on us, on how we're at our club teams to be able to get these opportunities, So make the most of it when we come into camp, enjoy our time here, and do what we do at our clubs, but now bring it at a national team level.
And there you go. It's Balogun and Zendejas getting ready for the 2 friendlies. Bart, I know that part of your rub with the new episode of the Soccer for US POD, you ain't a fan of the makeup of this bunch. If you would please expound, but don't expound to where folks don't want to listen to the Soccer for US POD. Tease it.
Yeah. I think the general consensus that Thomas and I kind of came to was that it's not that any of these players themselves aren't worth taking a look at. It's that we don't understand why we're using a camp 9 months from the World Cup, which we only have 6 camps remaining. Why we're using this one to explore brand new faces. And there are a couple that are actual brand new faces, not guys, even a guy like, and I don't want him here, but even a guy like Sean Zawatsky, who has had a chance, didn't get to go to the Gold Cup, and is now back here. Okay, maybe, but it just feels like this should have been the camp where you go, all right, the guys who did well at the Gold Cup, and there are only a few, bring you into this camp. Let's see how you perform against competition within our team. And then, John, some verifiably great competition on the other side of the field. I mean, Japan and Korea are two teams that, if you're the United States, you want to be better than them. And I don't know that you are. So I think the concern then, John, goes to, well, are we just wasting more time to get the group together? And more importantly, are we wasting an opportunity to build momentum within the fan base and new fans, because we're going to throw out a product that is not very good? And are you going to have another situation like you had against Switzerland where, because Pochettino wants to get guys playing time, which is good, that's the point of these, you end up losing 4-0. And while I always say that friendly results don't necessarily matter, John, losing 4-0 in a friendly does matter. And that's, that it doesn't matter until all of a sudden it does. And it just, we're wondering what in the world are we trying to accomplish with this particular roster in this camp, because there are a lot of guys who, to just be blunt, don't seem like they're going to make our World Cup squad better.
Okay, so then, as we always do, when it comes to looking at rosters, if you are, you can't just add folks. You can't just.
I
add
mean,
folks.
I would argue that you can't.
I think there's like 4.
They just added a random dude on a Tuesday, and that, I think that we didn't get to talk about him, I don't think, when I came on, but Christian Roldan being added, John, kind of negates your point that you can't just add people, because
I
you
know
can just
that,
add a dude.
right, and I know that, I think that you had, when we were discussing it last time, I think it was 4 less than the traditional. It's like there've been 27, I think, added in the past, I think, in rosters for camps and such.
Halter used somewhere between 25 to 28 a lot of times, and I don't know what the reasoning is, but I think there's room to add a couple more for sure.
Okay, so then, all right, so if there are 23, then if you say Roldan is 24, and we use the Berhalter math to 27 or 28, then give me 3 or 4 that you would have liked to have seen added to this camp that are not in it, that realistically could attend if you tap the front office on the shoulder and go, we'd really like to see them.
Well, John, this gets into the question of why were some of the first, what we would consider better players, not called in? And I think that's the question we have. Is number 1 on my list would probably be Weston McKennie, right? He's not here for some reason. And Pochettino says, oh, well, we don't need to see him. We know who he is. Okay, well, you know who Christian Pulisic is, that you called him in. You know who Chris Richards is, but you called him in. You know who Tyler Adams is, but you called him in. I don't understand why that wouldn't benefit someone. I mean, think about this, John. You roll out on Saturday at 5:00. Your midfield 3 could have been Adams, McKennie, Luna. That sounds fun as hell. I'm just saying, that sounds really fun. So McKennie is the one that I think we're all stumped on, and I do think that the reason of, well, Juventus played in the Club World Cup and all this stuff, it makes sense. Johnny Cardoso is another one where, okay, well, you got to move. Yunus Musa, okay, well, you got to move. Well, Tim Weah's here, and he not only got to move, but also went through the Club World Cup with Juventus. So the logic isn't logicking, John, to use the terminology that the kids would use.
There you go.
But to go to like some players that I think, if you excuse the preseason and new team and all this stuff and injury, obviously, because I think that's why like a guy like Ricardo Pepi or Malik Tillman aren't here, is because they're coming back from injury and like, hey, don't travel halfway across the world to play some friendlies. Aiden Morris is definitely one that I think a lot of people would say, dude has won player of the match, I think 17 times in 3 matches for Middlesbrough, or however many matches they've played so far in the championship. I feel like it's somewhere between 5 and 17.
Yes.
They play a game every other day, John. I swear they do in that league. Aiden Morris is definitely one because, and Landon Donovan actually made this point, I think, the better than anyone else could. Aiden Morris is younger than Sean Zawadzki and about the same age, basically, as Sebastian Berhalter. I think Morris is technically younger, but we'll put them in that same kind of like class, if you will. Aiden Morris was on the same team as both of those guys, right? If the timeline serves correct, and I think that Landon is correct. And he started over those guys, got a move to at least a comparable league. I think most people would argue that most of the championship is about a half step up from MLS to a full step. And yet he's not worth a look, but we have to look at Sean Zawadzki. We have to look at Sebastian Berhalter. We have to look at Luca De La Torre. That's a lot of syllables there.
Look at
look at Luca De La Torre. And I think that's just one that we're questioning. James Sands is another one. I don't know if his injury struggles have played into that, but James Sands maybe is one that I think a lot of people say, why not look at him? The problem is that our central midfield, John, weirdly, is really deep. That's something that I don't think you could say of a U.S. national team 10 years ago. But now you have a lot of dudes that could play and play well. It feels like we're picking some dudes who aren't particularly great. I know Zawadzki can play. Apparently, some Columbus fan on Twitter was telling me he can play everywhere. And I'll give you he can play left back, he can play right back, he can play center mid, he can play defensive mid, and all these things. And I would just ask the same question I ask y'all when you tell me that Ronald Hernandez can play certain positions: is he good at them? And the answer is he's not better than anyone else we have on the roster, and he's certainly not close to being a guy that I would consider in the depth chart really for any of those positions. And that's kind of the problem we have here, John, is there are just some head scratching inclusions. Now, I think when you look at the striker position, it's nice that Josh Sargent is getting a second look. The rumors are that Pochettino wanted to call in Brian White, but he ended up calling up Folarin Balogun. I think that's an improvement. I think we need to get Ballo in with Pochettino for the first time. That's good. We get Serginho Dest back, which is great. Obviously, this will be his first camp with Pochettino. Joe Scally, obviously, is one that I think people would have liked to bring in instead of Nathan Harrell, who, to be frank, just doesn't deserve to be near the national team. But if you're looking at guys who aren't somehow on Pochettino's, bad side, I don't know why Marlon Fossey's not here. I think DeJuan Jones is an interesting exclusion if you want to talk about guys who can play both sides. I think he's a better actual defender than Max Arfston, and he also can play left and right back. So there's just a lot of curious, even if you take the logic that Pochettino gave us, there's some curious selections that, I think it's fair to question him why we're doing this 9 months before a World Cup.
Okay. And that is why you have to listen to the Soccer for US POD with Bart and Thomas, and we will catch up with Bart on Monday. And so we have Dan Orlowitz dropping by also on the Monday show to preview Japan and what to expect in that one. So we'll have kind of a previewy kind of a thing here on Monday. Thank you for parachuting in for the preview for the Soccer for US POD. Enjoy your weekend. What's the viewing plans? Is a viewing parties at Fido? Is that right?
Viewing party at Fido. It'll start at, it always starts a little before 5. So get there a little before 5. It is a college football Saturday, so we are lucky to have our own private room back there. If you want to come watch the USMNT on a TV at a bar, you should probably come do it at Fido Midtown because we'll have it on there.
What he said. Bart, thanks a lot for dropping by. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up with you on Monday for the postmortem of match number 1. Get ready for match number 2.
Yes, sir.
All right, there goes Bart. Bart's ready to go. So this literally, it was parachuting in, and this was something that literally. Let's see. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can spell it correctly. All right. So this was cool, and it's literally just dropped into our lap. And so I'm fixing our social media right now as we speak. So this weekend, and I don't know if you saw the release on what is going on with Atlanta United 2. There is the opportunity for the Belize national team to take on Atlanta United 2. No matchup for the twos this weekend at MLS Next Pro. And so now it is the chance to kind of have a bit of a friendly. And it is going to be Belize taking on the twos at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. The Hoff and Jason will have the call for you. And we are joined by the Minister of Youth and Sports from Belize, Devin Daly. And he's going to break it all down, find out, and we're going to find out what's going on involving anything and everything going on with the national team about this particular trip, about what it's going to be like taking on an MLS Next Pro side. So very, very cool stuff here that is going to be happening involving Atlanta United too. So just to kind of give you a bit of a preview, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, conjunction with the Belize Tourism Board, official partner of Atlanta United. And once again, it's going to be at atlutd.com/live. And we'll get into the team and what it means, a couple of the names, who to focus on. But when we catch up with Minister Daly, I wanted to find out about the trip and everything. So we're going to bring them in, and it's our friend Brooke Youngblood has been the one who has been orchestrating this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them into the room and sit here and go. All right, so they're setting up. Okay, so Brooke is listening to the whole thing. I got it now. Okay, so I think I've got it. I think, Brooke, I've got it figured out. Okay, so they're setting up Devin's camera. All right, so this is the beauty of live. This is the beauty of live stuff. So I was going to bring in. I thought that, like I said, this is everybody sorting all this stuff out. So I'm looking at the green room. There we go. Okay, so let me see if it's safe to bring in Minister Daly, and we'll see what's going on. He is being properly hydrated. Minister Daly, how are you, sir? Oh, wait, I can't hear you. We got to work on the audio. There it is.
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Glad to catch up with you here as we wrap up a week, and I can't think of a better week to do it. This seems like it's been kind of a whirlwind for you. What's it like to have the national team up here to take on Atlanta United 2 tomorrow?
Well, it's an incredible opportunity. We have in the backdrop the guys getting their workout in, getting off that 3-hour flight coming up here. It's just a wonderful time to see the energy that they have, and have some of the diaspora people come out here so that we can see a good match.
Now, for those that may not know, I wanted to give a bit of an education for the history of the program, recent things, and if I miss anything, please fill in the gaps. Charlie Slusher's the head coach, hired
Correct.
a little over a year ago. You've won 5 out of your 10, 5, 4, and 1. You're playing obviously in CONCACAF, and you're trying to compete to get into the World Cup. Undefeated in 24 with Coach Slusher, 4 wins in the Nations League. And when you look at, say, the last year under Coach Slusher, what has it been like to see the advancement of the program to this point?
Well, I think the group of players have grown over the years, and I think one of the main parts that I would say is the maturity of the group, their style of play. It's not necessarily just a fast up and down. They're definitely trying to move the ball in a more mature way, and so I think that's what has been the main attribute to the success of the team.
And I know that your position as Minister of Youth and Sports, I mean, you were a hooper in your day. Can you still knock down the 15-footer?
Probably take that out to 25.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
after my own heart, hitting the threes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well,
So we'll
yeah.
definitely see if we could get some open gym on the hoop side out here while we're out here.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You work alongside, since you're Minister of Youth and Sports, you work alongside the Minister of Sports to advance youth engagement and athletic programs across the country. What, in a perfect world, are you looking to accomplish by the time this tour is done, starting with this match tomorrow against Atlanta United 2? What would you like for people to see here and back home with this for this trip that you guys are on?
Well, for the people out here, we definitely want to see the professionalism that our players are exemplifying, and for the people back home, we want to inspire the youth. We want to let them know that there are opportunities for you to get exposure, to leave Belize and actually pursue a career in sport.
What has it been like for you to see the growth of sport there in Belize? We can talk about it from a soccer perspective. We can talk about it from soccer and other sports. But how many folks are involved and engaged in sports right now? And obviously, you'd like to have that increase. And I would think that moments like this and this trip could help in that regard. What is participation like right now when it comes to youth and sports in the country?
I think sports naturally has that organic reach to youths, especially as a pastime for them to engage and kind of meddle in outside school activity. However, I think one of the main things that we're aiming for is to increase the overall organization of sports in Belize for youths, and that ongoing collaboration with the federations. That is something that hasn't necessarily been optimal. However, with the organization, myself, Minister Mala, and the team behind us we're hoping that that is the direction we go, because like I always tell people, funding constraints isn't everything. You need to have organization before the funding gets in order.
What kind of help do you need to help grow that, whether domestically or worldwide? What kind of help do you need to continue to grow?
Well, the main thing is we need to increase our capacity for coaching. We need to increase our capacity when it comes to partnerships outside and abroad. So we're calling on whichever partners are willing, come and train our people so that they can actually deliver the necessary skill sets that our locals need.
How difficult a process is that when it comes to recruiting, so folks can come down and aid and assist the next generations of athletes? How difficult a process is it, and what has interest been like so far?
Well, the interest is high, especially with new persons being at the head of the helm. However, I think the main thing is our people, they're always open to learn, they're willing. And I just think overall genuine interest coming in to say, hey, this is not a one off training, this is not a one off opportunity. And on our end, we're definitely willing to accommodate that, whatever that may involve.
How far back was the planning process for this particular trip with the national team to have this moment with Atlanta United too? How far back are we talking here?
Well, I know the partnership was for 2 years, and this is the first time the team is actually coming up, so on year 2. But I think this has been in the process for probably about 11 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
For those that may not know, the roster, keeper Woodrow West, he's going to be the where's been wearing the captain's armband, leads active roster 46 caps, 5th on the all-time appearance list. Carlos Bernardez, Jordi Polanco, 15 combined goals, 2nd and 3rd on the team's all-time list, respectively. I want to say that there have been times in the past. Deshaun Nemhard, I think, was a part of the national team that folks might remember, 2nd division here in the U.S.
Yep, he's out here too.
Okay, so 2nd and 3rd division, Deshaun Nemhard is a part of it. So there are some names that are familiar for the casual fan dropping in, and so I think that it's going to be an interesting experience for folks to just drift in and watch. From what you've been able to gather from the team itself, what is their expectation coming out here? Obviously, you're the Children's Healthcare Atlanta training ground. It's a great facility. You're going to be getting the best when it comes to the pool and the gym and the bikes and all that kind of stuff. What is the expectation of Coach Slusher and the team with this friendly?
We had that conversation last night at dinner, and I'll just say that they're expecting a very good showing, not something lopsided. So I won't put the pressure on the guys by necessarily giving out numbers, but we definitely have high hopes.
Well, and I mean that's the fun part in doing all of this. Where when did you fly up?
We got here yesterday about 6 p.m.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you got
6
you got
p.m.
you got a little acclimated. How long a flight was it?
It was 3 hours.
Wow. Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, a lot of bumps, right? A lot of bumps along the
Ooh,
way. So,
ah.
hopefully that doesn't affect the guys' legs too much.
Yeah. Are they looking forward to? How long are you staying? I guess is the next question.
We're staying until Monday, so we fly
Okay.
back Monday morning.
Okay. So then the match happens. If match is done, then what is Sunday going to be like? Is it just chilling, going to the mall? What do the guys want to do?
They want to explore a bit, but I think we're definitely gonna have a post game recap, to kind of discuss, some of the best practices against the team that they found. And then after that, of course, they want to explore a bit.
And is there anything that you have been recommended to go and explore? Or the guys said, okay, well, you got to go here, do this, and do this.
Nah, not as yet, nothing
Okay.
like that. Maybe,
Okay.
maybe you could share.
Well, I mean, are you looking for food? Are you looking for what are you looking for? Because we can go down this road a little bit. What are you looking for?
Let's go down the road for food.
Okay. Traditionally, you've got good American barbecue. There's always places to go for that.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to think. So you've got to sample good Southern cooking, good home cooking here in the Southeast. I would say barbecue probably would be a good idea.
Okay.
Are you staying close to the training ground, or where are you
We're
staying?
about 10 minutes away from the training ground.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was about 20 minutes or 25 from the airport. So it's
Okay.
one circle.
Okay, so it's not too bad. So you take
No.
the perimeter freeway and you just kind of go like that and you go to the airport. Okay, so
Correct.
all right, so we got to figure out like barbecue restaurants or good Southern cooking. Okay, so probably what you need to do tomorrow morning, well, for breakfast is probably go to a place called Martin's, because that's up there in
Martin's.
Martin's. That's good breakfast. That's good. That's good up there in Cobb County. So you might need to send somebody to go make a breakfast run to Martin's and get food and bring it back to everybody. So that's good Southern cooking. That's good breakfast. It's good portions and it's good stuff. So Martin's for breakfast. And then we've got to figure out something barbecue-y or Southern cooking for after the match, and then tomorrow on Sunday. So that's on the list. So we'll start you off with Martin's for breakfast, and then we'll work our way forward. How about that?
That sounds good.
Okay. What else do folks need to know about what's going on in Belize that you want to talk about, whether it's about youth and sports, the soccer team, the national team? What else do folks need to know that I haven't hit this morning?
Let me see. I'll probably end with this. There's nothing, and I'll quote Minister Mahler with this. There's nothing in a nation that galvanizes their people like how sports does. And the youths are not necessarily our future. The youths are now. And so whatever investments, whatever resources are needed, and whatever organization is needed to bring sport to a level where it's sustainable, where it's efficient, and where it's inclusive, we're willing to do it. And we definitely have great plans ahead, not just facility development, but also the human resource part.
And as things continue to grow, please accept this as an open invitation to come on the morning show, and we can continue to talk about how things are growing with national team and things like that as you continue to make your strides in CONCACAF going forward. Minister Devin Daly, Minister of Youth and Sports from Belize, here as a part of the traveling party that's going to be taking on Atlanta United 2 tomorrow morning, Belize national side. It's going to be fun. atlutd.com/live. It's a great education. You've parachuted in to play this match, and you're going to be hanging out for a Sunday before you head back on Monday. Please be safe. Please enjoy your time. Enjoy what's going on tomorrow morning. We will catch up with you soon. Thanks for dropping by the morning show on the shortest of short notices, and we'll be catching up with you soon. Good luck tomorrow. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
Thanks, John.
There we go. Minister Devin Daly dropping by. And that's how you kind of like to wrap the week up sometimes. That's very, very cool. That we got to kind of catch up with them as they're getting ready for atlutd.com/live tomorrow morning. And it is Atlanta United 2 and the Belize national team. It's going to be the Hoff and Jason on the call for that. So that's going to be really cool. Glad that we were able to catch up with that. Once again, thanks to our friend Brooke Youngblood for making sure that we were all on the same page and trying to figure that out. We were thinking initially it was going to be around 10:30, but because of travel and getting acclimated and things like that, turned out to be like 10:45. But that's still cool that we got to talk about that. And that's a good bow for the week. All right, so let's get into what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it as we go here. And we'll get you ready for everything else that's going on. All right. It's a busy day, obviously, on anything and everything going on the planet. So today, you got college soccer. That we know. Here's the deal. World Cup qualifying on FS2 at 2:45, Ukraine and France, Bermuda and Jamaica on Fox Deportes at 6. Goal TV with our friends at Fanatis. I think this is going to be our buddy Nino Torres, Defensor Sporting and Juventud at 7 o'clock on Goal TV. Telemundo has TNT and Curacao at 8. Universo has a doubleheader, Haiti and Honduras at 8. Nicaragua, Costa Rica at 10. Qualifying is all over the place on the plus. AFCON, 8, 9, noon. You got 5 more at noon, and you have 5 more in the AFCON qualifying at 3 o'clock. Fubo has Slovenia and Sweden at 2:45. Peacock is simulcasting the CONCACAF doubleheader at 8 and 10. VEEX has World Cup qualifying at 2:45, 4 matches, Italy, Estonia, Ukraine, France, Denmark, Scotland, Montenegro, and the Czech Republic. Amazon Prime has their NWSL match of the week, Friday Night Football, San Diego and Gotham is at 10 o'clock. Saturday. Oh, my boys from AFC Wimbledon are on in League One. Very cool. Okay, so CBS Sports Network, 10 o'clock. Bolton Wanderers and AFC Wimbledon. And FS2, triple header, World Cup qualifying, all in the European theater. USA and South Korea tomorrow at 5 o'clock. We're going to post the U.S. for Soccer, Soccer for U.S. POD coming up in a bit, and then that'll get you ready for the USA and South Korea. We're talking to Bart on Monday about that and cards and calls. ESPN Deportes tomorrow, AFCON, Nigeria, Rwanda at noon, 10 o'clock, Mexico and Japan. That is on Fox Deportes. Gold TV has Portuguese Primera, and they also have Uruguayan Primera, Boston River Plate, 7:30 on Gold TV. Telemundo simulcasting the international friendly. TUDN has USL Championship. Rhode Island and Louisville. We talked to Michael Parkhurst about that. Mexico and Japan at 10 o'clock. Universo, USA and South Korea simulcast. Univision simulcasting Mexico and Japan. MLS Next Pro, 3 matches on Season Pass. All of them are in the Western Conference. ESPN Plus tomorrow. World Cup qualifying. Northern Super League. La Liga 2. USL Championship. USL League 1. We'll be down in Statesboro catching up with South Georgia and Knoxville at 7:30. We're going to be catching up with head coach Mark McKeever, and we're going to have Mason Tunbridge and Darren Van Tassel, and we're going to come back and we're going to post that content on the network. Fox Soccer Plus, World Cup qualifying from the European theater, including San Marino and Bosnia-Herzegovina, Canadian Premier League. Golazo Network. League 1 at 10 o'clock, League 2, 7:30, 12:30, and Detroit and Orange County at 7. HBO Max simulcasting the friendly. Paramount Plus has League 1 at 5 matches at 10 o'clock, 7:30, 12:30, League 2, USL Championship, Detroit and Orange County. Peacock simulcasting the international friendly. Ion National Women's Soccer League doubleheader. Courage in Utah, Bay and Current. Peacock triple header Super League. Carolina, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Dallas, and Spokane and Fort Lauderdale, and that gets you in to Sunday. All right, let's look at the news and see if there's anything news-wise that we forgot before we get out of here today. So, all right, let's get into news and thoughts and things like that before we get out of here. See if there's any headlines that we missed on the way down. There is thought, and this is just a story that was floated in the Telegraph, that could Spurs be sold? Sheikh Jassim, Saudi Arabia, the possible contenders. Keep an eye on that. Daniel Levy, we didn't get into this a whole lot, so we need to get into it now. Daniel Levy was apparently bumped out. He's like, nope, you're out the door. And so this was probably the biggest thing that happened involving Daniel Levy, the shock removal, according to Jack Pitt-Brooke. And started working for Joe Louis in the 90s. Became managing director of ENIC, who bought 29.9% from Alan Sugar. Levy became chair, 24 years. grew into a global brand, roughly 4 billion pounds. Working relationship came to an end. Levy was told he was being removed as executive chair. Peter Charrington, director of ENIC, former banker, the man appointed to the board by the Lewis family in March, stepping into the new role of non-executive chair. Many staff had no idea until the email came around from CEO Vinay Venkatesham, coinciding with the official statement, saying that Levy had, quote, stepped down. Statement contained brief quotes from Levy saying he was incredibly proud of his work, thanking the fans, promising he would continue to support the team. Multiple sources have spoken in recent years about the relationship between Levy and the Lewis family no longer being as closely aligned as they once were. More specifically, trace back to the start of this year when the Lewis family decided to take a look into one of the Spurs' questions: why is the team performing so badly? Europa League win in Bilbao in May, Premier League disaster, worst season in 50 years. First major trophy since Leagues Cup in 08, reached the Champions League final in 19, top 4 in the Premier League, only once, 21-22. New training ground, new stadium, competitiveness, they haven't challenged. Start of this year, Lewis family sought the help of U.S. management consultancy firm Gibb River to look into it. Went to the club to interview senior members of staff to find out what was going wrong. Not a review to find out how to trim costs, find efficiencies, and save money. It was about something bigger, what needed to change in a sporting and operational sense to get Spurs winning again. Coincided with the new appointment to the board, Charrington, the former CEO of City Private Banking, appointed to represent interest of the majority shareholder. Charrington quickly started to learn about how things worked, now stepped into the main chair. April, it was announced that Venkatesham would be joining Spurs as the new CEO. Radical direction. They had never had a CEO in the ENIC era. Change approved by the Lewis family. Executive Director Donna Maria Cullen at the end of last year was leaving. Other changes: Scott Munn leaving, Chief Football Officer. Ange Postecoglou dismissed, replaced by Thomas Frank. Now you have all of this. Power still lays with the Lewis family. One of the most dominant chairman of the modern era, Levy. Attention to detail. Stories about Levy choosing almost every fixture and fitting in the new stadium, well worn. Every few years, you appoint a new sporting director, technical director. Levy would always still have his hands on the wheel. Last month, he was negotiating with Steve Parrish to sign Eberechi Eze, who ended up at Arsenal. Staff were enjoying a more open, communicative club culture driven by Venkatesham and Frank. Fans enjoying a more constructive discussions. Ultimately, the biggest change came on Thursday with Levy's removal. Changes started this year, couldn't be fully realized until he was gone. Working on club business right up to the end. No one could argue Levy didn't have a good run. But will all be discussed for decades. Difficult to argue the Levy era delivered enough on the pitch. Leagues Cup, Europa League, that's it. Further away from the Premier League top than it did 10 years ago. Lewis family was in the background. He's now 88, Joe Lewis. Pled guilty to insider trading a year and a half ago. Family Trust effectively controls over 60% of the club's shares. The rest of ENIC's shares are owned by Levy and his family with a similar setup of discretionary trusts. They retain the shares despite his exit. Club confirming Thursday nothing has changed in the ownership, shareholder, or structure. And so now, new management team, Vinay, Thomas, and Peter Charrington. That's what you're looking at. Long-term intentions. Is ENIC selling? That is the big question right now. But Daniel Levy gone after almost 25 years in the business at Spurs. Speaking of Women's Super League, by the way, Grace Gioro, WSL's third £1 million summer signing. Question being asked, is crazy spending good for the league? Manchester United manager Mark Skinner describes the money involved in France International's move as crazy. Did he say the same thing about Alyssa Thompson? London City signs Grace Gioro for a world record fee of £1.43 million. And by the way, we do have the official photo now of Alyssa Thompson. She's holding up a jersey. It was not the pen hovering over contract smile into the camera picture. It was holding up the jersey. So Alyssa Thompson officially official. Gioro, 103 caps for France, completed her move from PSG before the 11 o'clock deadline Thursday, signing a 4-year deal. 5-year deal with Chelsea for Thompson. Telegraph Sport understands the deal's at least on par with the £1 million paid by Arsenal for Smith. Could rise to a world record fee if performance-related add-ons are met. Angel City incredibly reluctant to let Thompson go, but reached an agreement with Chelsea on deadline day. Wanted to join Sonia Bonpastor's side, boarded a flight from LA to London. You've seen the pictures on social media. Wednesday evening in the hopes of a deal being reached. Chelsea broke their transfer record for the second time this year after they signed Naomi Girma for £890,000 back in January. So that's the latest with the Grace Gioro signing. So the WSL signing and signing and signing. Jordan Pickford's lined up for a career-long Everton deal, by the way. And it looks like Daniel Levy's son is going to survive what happened at the front office with Spurs. News from Sheffield Wednesday. Ben Rumsby. Independent football regulator says new powers to shut out rogue owners will be implemented as soon as possible. Could force Dafon Chansiri out at Sheffield Wednesday within weeks. First major policy announcement. IFR said what they said about shutting out rogue owners. Confirmed the launch of a 5.5-week consultation on its proposed powers, which it said would respond to when the new regime went live. News emerged after Rick Perry, the EFL chair, warned the likes of Chansiri of the impending threat of the regulator. So he goes on to BBC4 to announce this. IFR announcement made amid calls from the Sheffield Wednesday Supporters Trust for fans to stay away from the third-round tie against Grimsby on September 16 in protest of Chansiri's ongoing ownership. And they have since received the backing of the Grimsby fan group Mariners Trust. So they're backing the staying away. Various embargoes have been placed on the side. Tax debts, late payments, players to staff, money owed to rival teams has left them in a perilous financial position. So keep an eye on Sheffield Wednesday. Nothing new, just more advanced. One more before we go. Let's check and see if we're missing anything. Let's see. We mentioned the Gioro signing. In the National League, I don't know if you saw this. Terry Dunn is going to face AFC Taunton for dorking in the National League. He says playing in goal, it's like riding a bike. You never forget it. Terry Dunn is 54. National League South Side answered Surrey's club emergency call, putting on his keeper gloves, being after 28 years of retirement. He's going to be between the sticks. Monday, Dorking could get in a new keeper and solve their crisis. Mark White. What Terry lacks in mobility, he'll make up for in heart. For one game, we're just going to have to get on with it. Fans can expect a new lone keeper announced this week, reportedly joining on a 4-week deal. So keep an eye on this one. Dorking Wanderers and AFC Taunton, because it is a 54-year-old keeper who is going to be in between the sticks, playing on a temporary basis till Monday. 54-year-old keeper in the National League. So keep an eye on that. That'll be a fun watch, and I'm hoping that there'll be a way to watch that match, and we'll see what's up. That's going to do it for another week. And thanks for dropping by as you always do. And it was really fun. And it was a blast to get our friends from Belize on. Once again, remember tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Jason and the Hoff on the call, atlutd.com/live. And it's going to be the Belize national team, and it's going to be Atlanta United too. Once again, nothing going on for the Twos this weekend. They're watching Crown Legacy and Carolina Core knock each other around. Core got the win 4-2, by the way, in a match that means a lot to the Twos when it comes to the standings. Updating going into the weekend before we get out of here. And we got to mention Gabriel Wisse and his recent award. Eastern Conference right now, Orlando City B, 33 points, 9 wins. They are the 8. Carolina Core, same number of matches, 33.7 wins. They're the 9. NYCFC 2, 32 points. Atlanta United 2 at 31. Match in hand. Atlanta United 2 wins the match in hand. They would be the 8. 29 points for Crown Legacy after the loss. They are 12. FC Cincinnati 2 is 13. Inter Miami CF2 is at 22. Crew 2 is at 17. They have the E next to their name. They are no longer in postseason contention. 4 teams, 2 points, 8 through 11, Eastern Conference MLS Next Pro. Schedule for the weekend. Is there anything that we need to keep an eye on? The answer is no. Short of Monday, New England Revolution 2 and Hunt City, just for watching stuff in the Eastern Conference. Crew 2, Inter Miami CF2. That is Sunday afternoon, but it's the 2 teams that are below, 2 teams below Atlanta United 2, and they are at the bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference. So nothing left for Atlanta United 2 to do. Standings are locked in. 4 teams, 2 points, Eastern Conference. That's what it is. Legitimately. That's where it is for the 2s right now. So keep an eye on that as we get ready for matchups. One more home match left for the 2s this week. One more for the 2s. One more home match for the 2s this week. Monthly awards out for MLS Next Pro. Team of the month is the Town. Understandably so. Bill O'Jop, Player of the Month for the Rapids. Excuse me. Eric Bushy, Coach of the Month for the Rapids. And so let's see, since June 28th, unbeaten in regulation, Rapids 2. Climbed into second place in the West. Keeper of the Month, Francesco Montal for the Town. Francesco Montali, sorry, for the Town. Rising Star of the Month, Gabriel Wise, Atlanta United 2. 5 matches, 3 assists. As the 2s continue to make their climb, 5 matches left in the season. Javier Perez, quoted as saying, Gabriel only joined the academy last year, taking tremendous steps in his development throughout his time with Atlanta United. Can't wait to continue watching him grow through our player development pathway, and our second team is an excellent vessel for him to do that. Gabriel Wise, MLS Next Pro, Rising Star of August. So that's where the 2s are right now. They are in the street fight in the East. 4 teams, 2 points to try to get to the 8. 5 matches left, 1 home match left for Atlanta United 2. It is road trips to Truist Point to take on Core, trip to Matthews to take on Crown Legacy, back home to take on Chattanooga for the final home match of the year on the 24th. Then it's a trip to Bridgeview to take on Fire 2. Decision Day, October 5 at Fort Finley. We'll be there for that, and we'll let you know how things are in the Eastern Conference, all the kicks in the Eastern Conference at 1 o'clock. That's another week of what's going on here at SDH AM. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. And go to Fido, watch the national team, go find a college game, enjoy your high school football if you are so inclined. And thanks to all the guests this week that made the show what it was. Let me get the rundown really quickly. Obviously, thanks again to the minister for coming in short notice. Thanks to Parky. Thanks to Nino and Nico. Thanks to Casey White. Thanks to Dylan. Thanks to Tyler. And thanks to Jason Stevens for our continued education when it comes to the economics of soccer. Thanks to Bart. Thanks to Kaylor Hodges, who joined us back on Labor Day. So, excuse me, that's another round of SDH AM. I need to go hydrate. Tonight, if you want to see me on the sidelines, GPB's got Calhoun and Cartersville kick off at 7. Broadcast starts at 7:30, kickoff shortly thereafter on everything GPB. So that is another week of SDH AM. Thanks for dropping by. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. And since it is the end of the week, that means that I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. And we will catch up with you this weekend, 10 o'clock, atlutd.com/live. The Hoff and Jason, Belize, and Atlanta United 2. Enjoy it, everybody. Play it safe. We'll catch up with you again Monday morning.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours, be